Bond gets possible new directors. Frozen gets a new writer. This and more on Movie Emporium's News of the Day. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Movie Emporium's News of the Day for August 24th, 2018, where we take stories from around the world of movies, break them down, and tell you about them one by one. If you like what you see, remember to always rate, subscribe, comment, check us out on YouTube, Audioboom, Facebook, and Twitter. Also, email us at nlapola1138@gmail.com. But with that, we'll go ahead and move on to our first news story. And just to let you know, there's not a whole lot of news today, so it should be rather short as a episode, so I just want to warn you guys. But with our first news story, we got... So in recent years, the Russo Brothers, they've been on a upwards trajectory of becoming bigger and bigger directors, being able to pick their own projects, being able to just do whatever they want. You know, they have the Avengers Infinity War that came out, did very, very well, and then they had the next Avengers movie. So from their humble days of Community, you can say that they've become a massive group of directors. But so the news story basically reads that they have won the option for a book called Cherry, which involves the story of a guy who went to Iraq, came back with PTSD, which, you know, normally happens in a war. He gets addicted to opiates and drugs, and then he starts robbing banks. So as a movie, this actually sounds pretty interesting. Movies about people that come back from wars always seem to have an interesting take to it. I mean, you can look at anything that's come out in the last 50 years that's dealt with war. Look at Born on the 4th of July, for instance. So the fact that Russo Brothers are moving away from comic book movies, I think they're getting kind of, you know, burnt out because the Avengers movies probably took a lot out of them. They've been doing nothing but like Captain America and Avengers movies. So doing something smaller like this could be cool. There's not really anything cast-wise to talk about because it's just an early development. Just a book just got bought. But it's an interesting story. It could be cool. I mean, you could, you know, put Miles Teller in it. I mean, I think he's played a war vet before, but I think the fact that the Russo brothers are willing to move on to a different, interesting project that's not a superhero movie could be really cool, could be really fascinating. I look forward to seeing it. Like I said, it probably won't be out this year, but it'll probably be out next year. So, you know, good luck to the Russo brothers. I'm looking forward to it. They have a very talented view of things. They're the kind of like the directors that have interesting projects lined up, and this is another one. This is like, you know, kind of like Adam McKay, you know, doing like The Big Short or Succession. It's a director that's known for doing other things as doing something that they're not usually known for, and it'll probably succeed. So, you know, I'm looking forward to it. So good luck to the Russo brothers. But with our next news story, we have... So you guys have seen Hidden Figures. It was a pretty popular movie that came out a couple years ago about female NASA workers that were African American. They had to like rise themselves up. They were always being put down because it takes place in the 60s. It's about the Apollo launch and so on and so forth. Well, you've also seen Frozen. Massive movie, did really, really well. $400 million in the States, $1 billion worldwide. So they're working on Frozen 2. We already knew this. It was going to happen eventually. They came out the short during Coco last year that was very divisive. And so they've hired the writer, which is Allison Schroeder, who is Oscar nominated for Hidden Figures, or Hidden Fences, as it was like a thing going around because people kept making mistakes. But not much is known about Frozen 2 outside it's going to bring back the same characters. You're going to get the snowman, you're going to get the two daughters, and you know, you're going to get these popular characters back. Whether the movie does as well as the original, it remains to be seen because, you know, even though Frozen did really well, it was very divisive in how it was contained. I liked it, but, you know, movies like Moana and Coco that came out later, not necessarily by Disney, but, you know, Pixar and Disney, I thought were 10 times better. But I think it's cool that she's getting the chance to kind of do a rewrite on Frozen, which means maybe they're not happy with the current project. But sometimes you have to do touch-ups. Sometimes you bring in ghost writers or you bring in other writers to just kind of pump up the project or just kind of like put a little more heft to it. So, you know, it's nice to see. Like I said, Hidden Figures was actually a pretty decent movie. It had a great cast in it with Octavia Spencer and Taraji P. Henson. Kevin Costner was actually really good in it. So I'm kind of looking forward to seeing what Frozen 2 what they're gonna do with Frozen 2. I'm definitely looking for Wreck-It Ralph too. So, but like I said, Frozen 2 could be, it's going to probably be special. It's probably going to be another, successful Disney movie. So we'll see what happens. Good luck to her. Hopefully she pumps up the she pumps up the script a little bit more. So, but with that, we'll go ahead and move on to our next story, which is so this is another Disney movie. It's another live action movie. I know people that don't like this. I don't like the fact they're doing all these live action movies. I've already said it with Disney. I like I'm intrigued, I should say, with what Jon Favreau is going to do with Lion King because he did a nice job with the Jungle Book. Well, Chris Weitz is involved with the live action Pinocchio movie. And it's interesting because Pinocchio is a really dark tale. If you've ever seen the animated movie or read the book, I mean, there's some weird, dark stuff that go on in that movie. I mean, he gets swallowed by a whale. There's a whole, where they're getting turned into donkeys. I mean, he's like, the wolf is trying to sell off Pinocchio as a carnival freak, basically. It's really dark. Disney made really dark animated movies back in the day, and they still kind of do. But so Chris Weitz had an update on Pinocchio, and basically said it's possible. They're still in early stages. There's no cast yet, but it's good at looking like it's going to be filmed next year in France and England. And like I said, it's going to be a Disney film, so it's going to be similar to what you saw in the animated movie. But I don't know. I'm like torn on this. I'm really getting tired of these live action movies. Yes, they make a lot of money, and Lion King's going to make a lot of money. Aladdin's going to make a lot of money. But I just want to see Disney do animated films. I want to see them do original tales. Do what they. I mean, this is the problem with Pixar for a while. They were doing sequels of everything. Only things that anybody wanted was Incredibles 2 and maybe like a Finding Nemo sequel, and they got that, and they got the other one too. But I'm sorry, these live action movies, I don't want them. I mean, Aladdin's one of my favorite animated movies of all time. I don't need to see a Guy Ritchie animated movie with Will Smith. I barely even want to see the Jon Favreau Lion King. I mean that's just me. Obviously, Beauty and the Beast made $1 billion worldwide, so what do I know? But Chris Weitz is involved. He was involved with Rogue One, About a Boy. They did American Pie, so he's a good writer. I don't need to see this movie. I don't understand why they're doing it. It's perfectly fine with the animated movie that came out in the '40s. And you saw what Roberto Benigni did with the live action Pinocchio movie, and that was terrible. So it's Disney. I can't tell them what to do. I'm just here telling you guys stories. So good luck to him, I guess. Good luck to Chris Weitz. He's still getting work, but that's it on that story. So our big last news story of the day, because there's not really much to talk about because it's Friday and no one wants to release news. So our last big news story of the day is Bond 25. If you don't know already, Danny Boyle, who was supposed to direct it, left because of creative differences with the Broccoli's and Daniel Craig. With these types of things, it was probably something that they didn't agree with, Danny Boyle wanted it this way, but since the Broccoli's own the Bond franchise, they want it their way. So, in essence, he left, and now we have to find new directors. And so there's been some new candidates or frontrunners, and there are people like Jan Damage, which has been in the running forever. There's David Mackenzie, who was known for Hell or High Water. And there's Jean-Marc Vallée, who was known for stuff like Dallas Buyers Club. The typical directors that keep getting put in the mix, trying to get their big break and so on and so forth. But the biggest one, the one that actually surprised me the most, was the possibility of Edgar Wright directing a Bond film. And he's expressed interest before of doing it. And, Steven Spielberg expressed interest back in the day, but that's how we got Raiders, because they didn't want him to do it, because they don't want Americans, and David Mackenzie is a fortunate American. Maybe times have changed, but for the most part, they want to keep it in their British heritage type of situation. So having Edgar Wright be the director of a possible Bond movie is pretty awesome. I mean, think about this. The guy's done stuff like Shaun of the Dead, Baby Driver, Hot Fuzz, World's End, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. I mean, the guy has a unique style to him. And, you just watch Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, for instance, when he takes comic books and he uses that to an effect, he'll go from one shot and then stuff will be in a bubble dialogue and the way the villains are played out. It's very video game-esque plus comic book-esque, and it is based off a comic book. So, you guys know, if you've ever seen it, how odd and interesting that movie is, how it's edited. And it's the same thing with any of his movies. You look at stuff like Baby Driver, it's all edited to music. It's very fascinating to watch because the way things play out, the way he uses music to play the scenes. And it's the same thing with Shaun of the Dead, where everything's slow moving, kind of like a zombie film. You know, like zombie characters themselves, they're all slow moving, so the movie's very slow, and so on and so forth. I mean, Hot Fuzz is action with, anyways. So what he could do with Bond, I think is awesome. It's not been confirmed because it's a rumor and it's just early talks. But just think about what Edgar Wright could honestly do with the Bond film. And just think about the style he could bring to it. I mean, we always want to see what he could have done with Ant-Man. Even though Ant-Man turned out all right, you know, Peyton Reed did the best with what he could. But just the fact that Edgar Wright wants to do a Bond film, and now he may be in the front running for a Bond film, I mean, that's really cool. Now, are they going to give him the ability to write the script, or are they going to use Danny Boyle's script or Neil Purvis' script, who also worked on other Bond movies? No one knows, but I think Edgar Wright, it could be a perfect fit. He has worked on decent budget movies. I mean, this movie's going to cost like $200 million to make. But I'm really fascinated with what Edgar Wright could do with his style, with his kinetic energy, with his just take on how you make a movie, because he is wholly unique with how he does make movies, and this one could be something special. It could be like a Skyfall or Casino Royale, where it's just something that, you know, could blow people's mind, and that's what Edgar Wright does with his movies. If you've ever even seen Spaced, I mean, you just look at what he's done and how he's portrayed his movies. They're all lyrical, they're all fantastical, they're all interesting, and they can make Bond interesting again. Spectre was not an interesting movie. It was a very typical Bond movie, and that's not what we want anymore. We don't want stuff from the 70s and 50s and 60s. We want unique Bond movies, and I think Edgar Wright could do something like that, but we'll see. Like I said, nothing's set in stone. We still have early rumors, and chances are the movie will probably get pushed back to 2020 or something like that. So, but if Edgar Wright gets the role as a director for a Bond film, hey, you know what? Sign me up, because I'll be right there. So since it's Friday and there's not a lot of news stories going on, I pulled some stories about some pictures, some posters. It's kind of like what I do, like to wind down at the end, you know, of any episode. Just give you guys some fun stuff to look at. But we all know John C. Reilly and Will Ferrell. They work real well together. They worked in stuff like Talladega Nights and Step Brothers. They're like the perfect comedy duo. I mean, there's a lot of good comedy duos like Abbott Costello and Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau, but they seem like they just know how to work off each other. And they're in a movie that's going to be called Holmes and Watson, which is, of course, based off Sherlock Holmes, excuse me, and John Watson. And it's a comedy. There's not much known outside of that, but the fact that they're playing Holmes and Watson, and are they going to use British voices or are they going to use American voices? And just the level of humor of Holmes and Watson, or of Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly. I mean, this is almost a winner. The only problem is this movie is coming out in December 21st, which is the same day as Aquaman and Bumblebee and Welcome to Marwen and Mary Poppins. So, I mean, that's a stacked week, and I don't know why people weren't moving the shifting of the movies, so nobody's gonna make any money. And unfortunately, if Holmes and Watson is not as good as what people were projecting, because they've seen like previews of it, then this movie could not be good. I don't know, it could be like semi-pro or anything Will Ferrell has not really done well in. So I don't know, but the poster's cool. It just has Holmes and Watson, it has Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly on the cover. So I thought that was a kind of a cool picture. And so we got Detective Pikachu, starring Ryan Reynolds as Pikachu. It comes out next year. So, but they've released a teaser poster. I know a lot of people out there love Pokemon and Pikachu especially. So it's kind of cool. It's not too much to look at. It's just another poster. Like I said, it's a slow news day, so I figured I'd show this at least. But you know, it shows the logo for Detective Pikachu, and that's pretty much it. So, but the last thing I wanted to show you guys is some new photos for Bohemian Rhapsody, which show Freddie Mercury with his band and some of the stuff he did when he was playing in concert. It's not much to look at. You see Brian May, you see Freddie Mercury doing his poses like he did in his concerts. I think they're cool. I can't wait to see this movie. It's too bad it's marred by a certain director, but Dexter Fletcher was brought in to finish the project. And he's also working on the Elton John biopic with Taron Egerton. And if you've ever seen Eddie the Eagle, it's a fantastic little drama about ski jumping. So it also had Taron Egerton in it. But like I said, I'm looking forward to Bohemian Rhapsody, even with all the crap that's been going down with behind the scenes. But Rami Malek is a pretty amazing actor. I'm going to do a review on Papillon, which he was in, which he actually was pretty decent in. And then you have Mr. Robot. But just this movie's look and just how it's turning into an Oscar caliber type movie, I can't wait for it. And these pictures just keep showing and showing and showing how good this movie is going to be, probably when it comes out. So we'll see what happens. We'll see how it turns out. I'm sure they're going to release another trailer, which I don't think they do because I think the trailers that they've released kind of show us how good the movie's going to be. So, but that's it. I just wanted to show you some pictures on Bohemian Rhapsody. So, with that, we'll go ahead and head out. Thank you so much for watching Movie Emporium's News of the Day. If you like what you see, always remember to rate, subscribe, check us out on YouTube, Audio Boom, Facebook, and Twitter. Also, comment below. Any of these stories interest you? We'll discuss them. Tell us what you think about them. Tell us if there's any other stories that you wanted to hear about that wasn't talked about, and what you think about those stories. I just want to kind of have a discussion. Tell us what you think. So, but with that, thank you so much, guys, for watching. We won't be back until Monday, so we'll see you on Monday. Peace.